Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to look at the contact page. In our previous tutorials, we were able to work on the home page, as you can see on the website. We were able to look at or customize the about page. Uh, so the remaining pages are the web pages and the contact and also the account. So in our today's tutorial, we're going to look at how we can customize our contact page. And one thing we are going to create is the contact form, the HTML contact form, and that we'll test and see add its functionalities inside the code. So since my browser is already up and running, I know that I have my containers running, but if your containers are not running, you can just confirm by typing the docker ps. That shows the containers that are running. So in my case, I don't need to run anything because they're already running. If not, you can use the Docker Compose app with -d for the detached command. So this will be the first time that we are going to work with our models. And inside your website, the website app folder, you're going to access the models.py. And inside this, we are going to create the model, or if we can also call it the schema of the email. So whenever a user sends the email via the contact form, they will be able to, these emails will be able to be saved somewhere, okay, in the database. And this will be, the models will come in handy in this. So by the models.py file only has the import from the Django model. And so we are going to just create a model, and this model I'm going to call it the email message. It's going to borrow from the model class, models.model from Django, and basically our contact form will contain, when a user wants to send this email using the contact form, they will input their email. They will also input a subject for the email and also a message, which is the message, the email body. So we are going to look at, we are going to call these email. This will be the first field, and it will be an email field. And I'm going to give it a maximum character length of something like 254. And then I'm going to, for the subject of the email, I'm also going to, it will be a character field with a maximum length of 128. And finally the message, which is the email body, just call it message, which will be a text field. And it will have a maximum character length of, I can give it something like 500. So I'm going to add to these two lines with respect to the P8 standards. So we have been able to create our models. And whenever you create a model or modify a model, you may want it to we want to update the database using the Django ORM, or the object relational mapper. So this code defines these are the fields in the database. Okay, and yeah, so we have the model field reference page that talks about the fields. We have these field types. We have the auto field, big auto field. There are quite many. So these can give a reference into whenever you're creating a model, you can refer to this to see what, if you're creating a date, for example, you can use a date field, a date time field, duration field, and the likes. And then we have URL and the UUID field that are also supported. So whenever you create your model, you can, don't forget to make migrations. And in this case, remember that we are running our commands inside the container. So we are going to use docker compose exec, the container name which is web, then python manage.py, make migrations. If you have so many apps and you do not want to, overlap migrations or probably have issues ahead, you can specify the app. So in this case, I can add website, but since I'm only making migrations to the website, I can just leave these as make migrations. And you can see that it indicates that it has created the model email message. And inside this migration, it has created a file that was not there. And this is a file that, so it has created a table, I believe, with these fields. The ID field is automatic and it represents the primary key. And then we have these other fields that are email subject and message. So now that we have completed adding this model, we may want to see this model inside our admin. And so we are going to register this model inside the admin so that whenever you go into the admin page, you can be able to see the model. And we are going to import the model that we have just created that is called email message. And we are going to create a class that we will call it email message admin, just following the Django standard practice admin dot model admin. So we are inheriting the model admin class. And inside this, I'm just going to add one item, which is a list display, because there's a way I want these items to be displayed. And I'll add the fields. So we have the email field that we have just created and the subject. I don't want, I won't add the body and I'll show you why just in a few. You can just register it using what you call the decorator. Add at admin.register. The model, which is a email message. So whenever I try to open the website, I cannot be able to access it. So I think I already know why. So we have this command that I was using, make migrations. I did not run migrate, so I did not effect these changes into the database. And that's something that I should have done. Yeah, so now because I've added it, maybe I can also check the logs from Docker. Docker compose logs f. Yeah, so it's this some issue here. Okay, so let's see if our website is able to come up. So I need to exit, and then I'm going to run. Okay, so I'm going to try and run Docker compose down. Then I'm going to run Docker compose up. Up in a detached mode. Okay, then I'm also going to create although before I do that, let me see. The website is running. Yeah, so now the website is running. I think it was just an issue. So I'm going to go log into the admin page, which is in /admin. Okay, I do not remember the username for the admin, so I'm just going to create a new admin using the Docker Compose. Okay, the problem with this command prompt seems to be misbehaving. So I'm going to create super user. Some dummy email, and then I can be able to add the password and then can log in. Okay, so since we have been able to log in, you can see that we have these email messages, but it is empty right now. So let's see what we can do. We are now going to proceed with creating the contact form. The first step in creating a form, you need to add a forms.py inside the application folder. So we have a file called forms.py. So you can add it into the under version control. And the first line, we will import forms from Django. So from Django, import forms. And then we will create a form, a new form that we call contact form. And it will be a class. You can call it contact form class. And then just like the others, it borrows, like the models as you have seen, it inherits the form class from Django and its properties. So in this form, we can create similarly 3 fields that are going to be corresponding to the fields that we have in the model. So remember, we created an email subject and message fields. So we will have the one of the first field, you can call it from email, and you can add forms. It will be an email field. So these are also the field types for the forms. There are quite many, quite several, so you can check. So I'll just leave it as that. And then I'll also set up some property which is required, saying that this field is required. So it cannot be left. You cannot send an email from an empty without an indicating on the email. So this is a forms.character field. We can also add the length, which will be on 28, corresponding to what we had, and it is also a required field. That's why we've added that property. And then we will look at the message. And inside the message, it will also be a character field. We will also add the maximum length, which will be 500. And then for this one, we will add a widget, which is a property that indicates that this is a text area. Okay. And we have the required as well, which is true. It is a required field. Yeah, so this is what we have. Yeah, just checking. We have the email field and 2 character fields for our contact form. So now let's see how we can use our forms. And this form, we are going to import it together with the model in the view. So we have the views in our app, and inside the views we have this template view. But Django also has the form view, which is here django.views.generic.edit. We have the form view, so we are going to subclass the form view inside this from the template view. So another thing that we are going to import into the view, we have a library for Django that supports sending of emails. So we will add a from Django.core email import. We have something called the send mail import send mail, and you'll also add something here, bad header, for handling the error in case the form does not send the email. Okay. Then we're also going to import the HTTP response, that if you have worked with the views, you are familiar with it. So we have Django.http import HTTP response, and then we have the Django.views.generic.edit and import from view, and then we can import from .models, import email message, and finally from .forms we import the form that we have just created, which is the contract form. Okay, so now inside our contact page view, we have already declared the template, and now we will need also to create the reference for the form. It's called the form class, which will be equals to the contact form. That is the one that we have just imported here. You can actually even copy and do a paste contact form. And then we'll have something that we call the success URL. So when we submit the form and we send our email successfully, we need to add the success URL, where we tell Django where we are going or which page we are going to. So for now, I'm going to create and just put it to move or to navigate into the home page, and then we are also going to add a function for checking if the form is valid. And now this one saves us the headache of creating. As you can see, this is what you call the Django class-based view. But with the function-based view, we could have written so much code. So basically, one of the advantages of using what you call the class-based view, we are creating views as classes rather than functions. I don't know why we have errors. Form.models import should be from. Okay. Anyway, we shall see about that. So we have the form valid, and the form valid is used to check whatever is being input by the user is indeed valid. Okay. And we will have the form dot cleaned data for, and this one we will do it for each of the three fields. And the second field is subject, so I'll just call it sub J, and then I have the final one, which is a message body. So I can call this MSG. So these three correspond to the field of there, to the these fields that we have just created here, and we'll add the names. It's a list, and you can see actually PyCharm is fetching them from the form. So we have the message. Okay, so we have it will check the data that is being input is correct, and then we can add a try exception, whereby we will, if everything is okay, we will send the email, and the email will capture the subject, and it will also capture the message, and it will also capture the email. And then we can add an additional parameter, which is maybe I can call it J. Okay, it needs to be the email. Maybe I can call it jkaraoke at email.com. And then we can add the message, which will be equal to it will capture this model because we want to save the emails inside this model, the email model. So we want to save it or persist it into the database whenever somebody sends us an email. So we will take the email field, which will be equal to email. Could be confusing a little bit. And then you have the subject, which is equal to the sub j. And then we have the message, which is equals to the msg. Okay. And then we will save this message. And if there is a problem, then this problem will be handled by the exception or the except. So we have imported an exception, which is this bad header error. And what happens when we encounter the bad error? We can return the HTTP response. Let's see if this import is correct. It should be HTTP response in caps. Then inside it, we can just add something like bad header found. And then at the end here, we can return our class. And it will check the method. It will also return the form. Okay. So if you have an issue with this import core mail, it's not email. Import send mail and bad header error. So these are the series of imports that we have done, and we have modified our view. Okay. Now the other step is to now add it into our template, because if we come to our contact page, we cannot be able to access our contact form. There is no form here, so we need to add that form inside the template. And this one, we will go to our contact template. And I had initially added some form, so allow me just to move backward. Yeah, so we've added a form method in the HTML form, and then we have added this check for the CSRF, which is a cross-site forgery attacks. It handles that, and then we have added this form as a paragraph, and then we have this submit button. So let's refresh and see what happens. Yeah, you can see our contact form. It's not very nice, but it's not very well structured, but we can test it and see if it is working. So one way of testing it is there's one thing that we have forgotten to do. So we do not have an SMTP server. We do not have an email for sending this server for handling the email sending or sending of email. We are just sending it from Django. And one way that you can see the email content that we are going to add here is if we add some parameters inside the settings.py file. And we are going to access the settings.py file from the project folder. And just below this setting for the user model, we can just say email sending. And then you can add the default from email. And I can just call it the contact josephkaraoke.com. And then the other email, we need to add a setting for the email backend. And this one we can add using there's a parameter called email backend. See, we have all these parameters that you can add if you're using an SMTP server. So we'll just add email backend, which will be equal to Django core. I think I may have forgotten this, so I'll refer it to online. So we imported this send mail. You can actually type this if you want to test the email sending. So there's something we need to add onto the settings.py file. Just check on the side here. Yeah, I want this console backend because I do not have an SMTP server. If you are setting it to an SMTP server, you can check. You have to add these parameters, but I want it to print on the console or the terminal. So I'm just going to copy this line. Then I'm going to paste it into my code. I'm just going to save. So let's see what happens when we send our email. So I'm just going to monitor my logs. And on the side here, I'm going to add the browser rather. So let's see. I'm just going to add an email here, admin at example. I can say hi or greetings, and I can also say hi. How are you doing? And then you can click on submit. And when you click on submit, you notice that it is directing us to home. This is because we set this in PyCharm, we set the parameter of success URL to go to home. So let's say if we said it should go to about, let's see what happens. And before I continue, there's something else that you should note. This is the email output, as you can see. So the settings that we have just added ensures that this email is printed out in the console. Okay, so you can see we have the message body we have from email to this email. So to this email, this is the admin, I believe. And then we have hi, how are you doing? Which is the hi is the subject, and then how are you doing is the body. So we have just changed one parameter about. So let's see what happens when we send our second email. Let's use another email. We can say hi, I am Joseph. Then when I do the submit, you notice that it has now navigated to the about page because we have changed this. So you can add a success page or something like that. So for now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. This is the email that we have, the second email that we have just sent. Okay. So this concludes the creation of the contract form and kind of working on the contract page. In the next tutorial, we're going to see how we can be able to customize this form because it does not really look appealing. It's not arranged well. So we are going to see how we can do that. So if you like my videos, kindly add a like. You can also comment on my videos, share my videos with others so that they can also learn from it. And finally, don't forget to click the bell icon so that whenever I upload new content, you can be able to get a notification. Thank you for watching.